You know, what's the one fear we don't really think about? Not the monster under the bed, but the one that's already inside our home. Today, we're diving into the truly chilling story of the smiling shadow in the attic.
And just so we're all on the same page from the get-go, what you're about to hear is not fiction. This isn't something out of a horror movie. It's based on a real case, a real person, and a very, very real home. Because, let's be honest, the scariest stories aren't about monsters hiding out in the woods. They're about the ones who've already found their way inside. And this one starts in a place that should have been the safest of all.
So, our story kicks off in what should be a total sanctuary, just a quiet house in South Carolina. For the woman living there all by herself, it was her safe haven, her little corner of the world.
I mean, think about it. She was living in a safe neighborhood, the kind of place where nothing bad ever really happens. There was no big history of crime. Life was predictable, it was routine. Everything, by all accounts, was completely and totally normal. And honestly, that's what makes what happened next so unbelievably disturbing.
But after a few weeks of this peaceful, normal life, tiny, almost unnoticeable cracks started to show up. It all began with things you could so easily explain away. It started really small, like a little bit of food would go missing from the kitchen. Not enough to be sure, just enough to plant that little seed of doubt. Then, a door that she was positive she had closed would be found just slightly ajar. And at night, right as she was about to fall asleep, she'd hear it, what sounded like the absolute faintest footsteps coming from somewhere else in the house. So what do you do with that? It's so easy to just dismiss it, right? She started questioning herself, thinking, okay, maybe it's just stress or anxiety playing tricks on her. We've all been there. You misplace your keys, you forget if you locked the door. It is so easy to convince yourself you're just imagining things, until you just can't anymore.
She finally got to the point where she needed to know for sure, one way or the other. Was she just losing her mind, or was something actually truly wrong? So she decided to set up a small, hidden camera to get some real answers.
So the next morning, she sits down to go through the footage. Can you imagine that feeling? That mix of just pure dread, but also hoping, praying that you'll find absolutely nothing? She watches the hours tick by on the recording, and then she gets to 3 a.m. And that's when it happens. The attic door, a part of the house she probably never even thought about, slowly creaks open.
And in that one single moment, her worst, most unimaginable fears were confirmed. The footage showed that she was not, in fact, alone in her house. On the screen, a man silently crawls down from her attic. He moves so quietly, like he knows the place. It's chilling how familiar he seems with her home. He walks right into her kitchen, helps himself to her food, and then just looks around the house, like he belongs there. And then comes the single most horrifying moment of all. He stops, he turns, and he looks directly into the lens of the hidden camera. And he smiles. That image, that moment of him knowing, it's just pure nightmare fuel. I mean, what do you even do after seeing something like that? The discovery of this man was terrifying enough, but the investigation that followed, it would uncover a truth that was somehow even worse. So of course, the first and only call she made was to the police. They showed up right away, knowing there was an intruder, but they had no idea where he was hiding. The officers searched the whole house, and eventually, they found the man hiding right where he came from, the attic. This kind of crime actually has a name. It's called frogging. The name comes from the idea of frog hopping between lily pads, except in this case, it's hopping between houses. See, it's not just breaking and entering, it's the act of secretly living in someone else's home. The psychology of it is terrifying. It's less about stealing things and more about this parasitic violation of a person's most private space. But here it is. Here's the final brutal twist to this entire story. Catching him on camera that one night was horrifying for sure, but learning the full scope of his stay, well, that was a completely different level of terror. You see, he hadn't just gotten there. He had been living in her attic for weeks, coming down only at night while she was asleep, eating her food, using her home, and just watching her. Every single faint footstep she thought she heard, every misplaced item, it was all real. This whole case is just a chilling reminder, isn't it? We put locks on our doors to keep the dangers of the outside world out. But this story just goes to show that sometimes the most dangerous place can be the one where you're supposed to feel the safest.
And it really leaves you with one final unsettling question. And be honest with yourself. When was the last time you checked